MLB divisional standings predictions continue with the American League East, one of the most relevant divisions in all of baseball year in and year out. To be honest with you, I'm not that high on this division heading into 2023 compared to the last couple of years. That said, there's no terrible teams in the division, so the overall win percentage is going to be well above 500 despite me being maybe not so high on the top of this division. I could see 4 and 5 going two different directions, but give me the Boston Red Sox to come in last place at 75 and 87. The Stars just keep leaving in Boston. Xander Bogaerts gone, JD Martinez gone. They added old Justin Turner. Kike Hernandez moves to shortstop. Rafael Devers is now the face of the franchise. No debate there anymore. They signed him to the big extension. Alex Verdugo is one of the good solid baseball players on this team, but at the end of the day, the roster is pretty lackluster. You got Adam Duvall to possibly provide a lot of power for you. Red Sox rotation is very lackluster. The hope is that Chris Sale can maybe be healthy this year and be what Chris Sale was. And it's crazy that we're still talking about Chris Sale possibly being really good again all these years later, but there's a chance, he's shown some signs of it. They added Corey Kluber as he continues his tour around the American League East, 3 teams in 3 years. Hopefully James Paxton could be healthy as a starter for this team. As a Yankee fan, I'm hoping to actually see Paxton on the field again this year, not going to lie. Tanner Houck and Garrett Whitlock are 2 quality arms for Boston that have constantly been rotating between the rotation and bullpen, while Nick Pivetta will continue to be one of the most average starters in the game. They added Kenley Jansen as their new closer. They also added Chris Martin, so it's kind of the Los Angeles Red Sox this year between Justin Turner and those two. And then JD Martinez is out in LA. So when you look back at that 2018 World Series, they're basically all playing for the opposing team now, Mookie Betts included as well. Truly unbelievable. Ryan Brazier, Joely Rodriguez, Richard Bleier, more options in that Red Sox bullpen, nothing special. Also nothing terrible, though. In 4th place, the Baltimore Orioles have coming 1 game better than Boston at 76 and 86. They went 83 and 79 last year. I think there's going to be some natural regression to that, if I'm going to be honest with you, especially because the pitching staff is lackluster. But let's go over the offense, which is the quality side of this baseball team. You got Cedric Mullins, you got Adley Rutschman. I'm excited to see Rutschman fully establish himself as one of the best catchers in all of baseball, if not the best. You just got some pretty nice players. Gunnar Henderson is an exciting young shortstop on the rise for this team. Anthony Santander, Ryan Mountcastle have been good for a couple of years. Ramon Urias and Austin Hayes are not bad either. They added Adam Frazier, who's really not that good, but he had that little stretch of his career where he looked like an all-star. The rotation does have dudes that shouldn't be that awful, but what it lacks is a front end. John Means is still recovering from Tommy John surgery after missing the vast majority of 2022, but he should be back in the first half of the season. They have Kyle Gibson, Cole Irvin, Kyle Bradish, Dean Kremer, and Grayson Rodriguez. Felix Bautista is actually a pretty nice closer for them. He really broke out in 2022 as one of the more dominant arms in the game. So I'm excited to see if he could really establish himself as one of the better closers in the MLB. Dylan Tate and Keegan Aiken are 2 more familiar names that you're going to see more of in 2023 in this Baltimore bullpen. Now we move on to the 3 true contenders for the division title. In 3rd place, I got the Tampa Bay Rays going 89 and 73. That's a couple games better than they went last year, but they had a bad finish last year, going just 86 and 76, the worst record of any playoff team, and getting swept in the wild card round as the bats went dead against the Guardians. Wander Franco really wasn't on the field much at all last season. He still got to fully establish himself as one of the best shortstop in the game, which he still has plenty of time to do. He's still very young in his 20s. Randy Arozarena, I think, has been pretty slept on throughout his career, not even going to lie. I think he's just a really solid player. Yandy Diaz is a great contact bat at the top of that Rays lineup for years now. Brandon Lau is a great cleanup hitter for them in the middle of that lineup. One of the best second basemen in all of baseball. What would Tampa do without Brandon Lau? Expect to see more of a lot of those 2022 names here in 2023, like Harold Ramirez, Manuel Margot, Jonathan Aranda, Christian Bethancourt, Jose Siri. The Rays should actually have a nice rotation, not going to lie. Shane McClanahan obviously broke out into an ace in 2022 as a Cy Young candidate. Tyler Glasnow is not currently healthy, but he should be relatively shortly. He should be a really nice arm in that rotation. He should take over as the number 2 arm. Drew Rasmussen was actually really nice last year. So was Jeffrey Springs. So those guys could hopefully run it back for Tampa as nice ERAs in the 3s type of guys. And they added Zach Eflin, the former Philadelphia Philly. He should be a really average guy. Good as a number 5 option. With Tampa Bay's bullpen, you never have the huge names, but you always have a bunch of nice options out there. Pete Fairbanks is probably going to close more games than anybody, but they mix and match a ton out there, as you guys have definitely learned by now. Jason Adam, Andrew Kittredge, Jalen Beeks are definitely some of the better options out there for Tampa. It's a deep group. You get into Garrett Clevenger, Colin Pache, Sean Armstrong, Ryan Thompson, a bunch of not bad options for Tampa Bay. I do see Tampa Bay as a likely wild card team again, but I see the division most likely coming down to the Yankees and the Blue Jays. But that said, I'm not massively high on either of them, particularly this one team. Coming in second place, I have your 2023 New York Yankees with a record of 92-70. I do think the Yankees will manage their way up past 90 wins. They'll always have a big hot streak that'll get them there. Overall, I'm just very down on this 2023 Yankees team, if I'm being honest with you guys. The injury bug is already hitting, with Carlos Rodon likely missing about a month of the season. Of course, he could come back a little earlier, but these injuries tend to linger. I'd project Rodon to come back around the start of May, end of April. Who knows, though? Seriously, who knows? And then Harrison Bader's apparently going to start the season on the IL as well. I've advocated for Harrison Bader to take over the leadoff role in New York, although there is still an argument to be made that LeMahieu should lead off, just because LeMahieu can't really be put into the middle of the lineup because of his double play prones that would be caused from that. Aaron Judge is obviously the superstar of this squad. It's just hard to repeat what he did in 2022. The 2022 Yankees, particularly in the second half when Judge didn't have any help, was a type of baseball that I never watched before. The whole game surrounded around when Aaron Judge was coming up to bat. I've never seen that level of carrying to an offense before. So even if Judge has another terrific season, you're still going to probably win a couple less games just because he's not going to be able to quite repeat the absolutely legendary season that he had. Rizzo's a good player both offensively and defensively. He's not quite in his prime, though. He's not quite what he was as a Chicago Cub. Then you got Giancarlo Stanton, who's just not what he was as a Miami Marlin. That's been pretty much the case his whole Yankee career, but we've all been fine with it, as we should be, because of the fact that every October he shows up and produces. They're going to try and work Stan into right field for 40 to 60 games this year, and you're going to see Judge in left field in those games, which is going to be interesting to see because we have not seen that. We've obviously seen Judge make the move over to center field a lot in 2022. Judge potentially playing all three outfield spots this year, but Harrison Bader, if healthy, is going to occupy center field every day. One of the reasons I'm down on this Yankee team, though, is you look at a guy like DJ LeMahieu, and people still act like he's supposed to be like this really solid player, which he was great in 2019 and 2020. I get that, but 2 straight years where he's been very down, a very mediocre hitter, and it's been somewhat because of lingering injuries, but he's getting old. He's turning 35 this season. So you really shouldn't expect him to bounce back to that 2019-20 form. That just is a dumb prediction to make. And Gleyber Torres, he's established himself as a very average player. There is no reason that IKF should be the starting shortstop of this squad. That would be so unbelievably foolish to not work in Oswald Peraza or Anthony Volpe. What is the point of not developing those guys starting the future now when they're definitely no worse than IKF is right now? Let's not let IKF hold people's careers back. Thing is, Jose Trevino overperformed big time in the first half offensively last year. I'm not mad about bringing him back as the catcher, but he's like a bad hitter, good defender type of guy. He's overall a decent catcher. But I am hoping to see a lot more of Oswald and Oswaldo this year than Hicks and Donaldson. And man, is it nice not seeing Joey Gallo on that roster. The rotation looks really nice, but as I said, the injury bug has already hit with Rodon. But when Rodon's back, you got Cole, Rodon, Cortez, Severino, and then Domingo Germán or Clark Schmidt, unideal fifth option because of Frankie Montas now being out for most of the year, which I didn't even mention because he's irrelevant at this point. That news is like a month old. The bullpen should be good, as it is most years in New York. Clay Holmes, I have confidence in the man to bounce back, not to the ERA and the zeros type form that he was in the first half last year, but Clay Holmes should be a pretty nice player for them. And then you got Michael King returning from his injury. You got Peralta, a nice option, Loaizica, Marinaccio, you got Canely, and you got Lou Trevino. So not all those guys are tremendous, but some of them are. Like King should be great, Peralta should be really solid, Loaizica should be really solid. 92-70, that's my prediction for the Yankees record this year, the same as 2021. We're just not elite in my opinion, if I'm being honest with you guys. The lineup is not good. Coming in first place by 2 games, I have the Blue Jays at 94-68. The last 2 seasons, I've predicted the Blue Jays to go off in the second half after down first halves, and it's happened both times. So in 2023, they just got to not start off with a bad first half. Now, they did lose Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in the offseason, so that is a bit of a hit, but I think this roster is overall tremendous. A guy like George Springer, if he's on the field, man, if all the Blue Jays stars are on the field together, they could put things together so nicely. George Springer, Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is an incredible big 3 at the top of that lineup. And then the rest of the lineup is filled with a bunch of question marks, but potential. You got Alejandro Kirk, who was phenomenal last year as a hitter, as the catcher. Can he repeat that? Dalton Varsho had a good year in Arizona. He's projected to be a pretty nice player for this team. Can he be that? Matt Chapman, can he finally come back to hitting like he used to? Brandon Belt, does he have anything left in him? Probably not, but he was fantastic just 2 years ago in 2021 with the Giants. Then you got Whit Merrifield. Can he return to hitting like a solid player? He's just slightly regressed his whole career. And then Kevin Kiermaier switches from one AL East dome to another as he heads from Tampa to Toronto to be their new center fielder. The rotation looks nice, for sure. Alek Manoah is a really good arm. Even if he's not quite what he was last year, he's going to be good. You got Kevin Gausman, great arm. Chris Bassett, solid arm that they added. Jose Barrios should bounce back to an extent. And then they're riding with Yusei Kikuchi as their number 5 arm again, hoping that he's competent. You got one of the best closers in the game in Jordan Romano back there, and then you added Chad Green, stole him from the Yankees. You got Yimi Garcia, Anthony Bass, Adam Simber, Eric Swanson, Zach Pop. Should be a pretty solid bullpen for Toronto. That's right, man. I honestly didn't quite expect to actually do this, but I am. I have the Toronto Blue Jays winning the AL East in 2023. I've just been feeling so down in recent weeks about the Yankees, and I had to make a take that suggested that despite Yankee fandom.